Welcome back to the show. Tonight, we're talking about women in music, something I learned a lot about during my singing career in Canada, which ended far too abruptly. Sorry. A bit. Let's call the whole thing off, eh? Oh, we're gonna be the flippin' toast of Regina. Go Rough Riders!
Go Rough Riders!
While it may seem like superstar women dominate the music industry, that doesn't reflect what's actually happening.
In 2021, women are still fighting to have their fair seat at the table and even scoring a spot on the charts.
Looking at the last 6 Grammys, of the almost 900 nominations, only 9 have been women.
There's a report that just came out saying that only 21% of all artists were women.
The lack of opportunities and recognition in the music industry across all genres has resulted in women getting paid less. Barely any women executives and fewer women on music festival lineups. Unfortunately, women have been fighting that last battle for centuries, ever since 1801, when the brilliant musician Lilith Fairchild couldn't get booked at stage Coachella. Although the industry has made strides toward a more equal gender mix in festivals and on radio, women are still majorly underrepresented in the studio.
According to the Recording Academy, less than 3% of producers of popular music are women.
When I was about 14, I would read the back of my dad's records. I had never read a woman's name on the back of a record as the producer or the engineer. It was always men.
And not just any men, but the kind who don't eat pussy. In 2020, only 4 women producers were credited on the Billboard Hot 100 year-end chart. That's actually not so bad when you compare it to People's Sexiest Man Alive chart, which only allows one sexy man to be alive at a time. Every year is a bloodbath. And as you might have guessed, it's even worse for women of color.
Only 9 out of 1,291 producing credits went to women of color.
There are 180 white male producers to every one woman of color.
They put a lot of women and people of color in the performance role. And then you go and meet with a label and it's all white men.
Honestly, there are so many women who engineer and produce and songwrite. They don't get past the gatekeepers in the industry to have that same type of success that men do.
Sorry, but women are just too emotional to be producers. You need solid, stable white men like Phil Spector. As it stands, white men are overwhelmingly the gatekeepers to the music business. They're setting the agenda and standards for pop culture. When men are the gatekeepers, it allows fewer women to break through. For example, in 2020, less than 13% of songwriters were women.
It's just so weird being a young girl going into the studio and there's like 4 guys there and looking at you like, what do you want to write about?
We need different perspectives. Not that one is better than the other, but to get different types of songs, you need different types of people involved.
That's why Simon and the Garfunkels balance each other out so well. Simon writes about love and the Garfunkels write about growing up in the authoritarian regime of Garfunkelton. Almost 1/5 of the top songs from 2012 to 2017 were written or co-written by just 9 male songwriters. There was a 10th guy, but he dropped out of songwriting to star in 1/5 of all movies. Making matters worse, there's a lack of women executives working at the top. Less than 14% of CEOs, chairs, and presidents at music companies were women. Unsurprisingly, fewer women executives hurts women artists. It certainly played a role in the failed comeback of my 90s group, Celery, Salt, and Peppercorn. We could have saved so many Canadians from financial ruin with our song, Let's Talk About Checks. Women who do manage to break through still face difficult working conditions in a deeply sexist industry. Women deal with gender-based harassment, and almost 40% said they experienced ageism. It's gotten so bad that Adele's next album will be titled Still 30. The lack of equal gender representation also encourages a boys will be boys mentality, which encourages sexism and abuse.
Several women are accusing singer-songwriter Ryan Adams of sexual misconduct.
Some saying he promised to help their careers, only to turn his back if they rejected his unwanted advances.
Former chairman and CEO of Epic Records, L.A. Reid, is being accused of sexual harassment by a former assistant.
One of the dirty little secrets of the music business is that there is this kind of disproportionate leveraging or power, and these young, talented, impressionable, oftentimes females who get taken advantage of.
That is so awful. But somehow, the only dirty little secret of the music industry that anyone ever wants to talk about is how Paul McCartney and John Lennon jerked off together one time. That actually inspired with a little help from my friends. Despite the never-ending roadblocks to success, women are fighting back at every level of the industry. One artist who's been a successful advocate for herself and others is Taylor Swift. Taylor signed a contract with Big Machine Records at just 15 years old that gave the record label ownership of her masters.
After I was denied the chance to purchase my music outright, my entire catalog was sold to Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings.
In 2018, Taylor's deal with Big Machine Records ended and she joined Universal Music Group. Her new deal enabled her to own her masters going forward. Taylor announced a plan to overcome Scooter's purchase of her masters altogether by re-recording her first 6 albums.
Taylor Swift re-recording her albums is the greatest thing to happen for me personally, and the worst thing to happen to Jake Gyllenhaal. Taylor has worked to regain control of her music and served as a voice for other artists to have the same right. While it's amazing to see an artist use her power in this way, most musicians lack the same platform and privilege. The music industry must expand its commitment to representation across all levels, and that needs to include equality for workers of all races and gender identities. It also needs to ensure everyone's safety in the process. Except for Jake Gyllenhaal's. Give her back her scarf, Mysterio! We'll be right back. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to hear more from Full Frontal, like and subscribe. If you'd like to hear some opinions from a man in a lifted truck, leave YouTube on autoplay.